Fire explodes through my lower back as I slam into the mahogany desk, scattering client pitch decks and market analysis reports across my corner office. The Chicago skyline blurs into a smear of neon through the 42nd floor windows. My fingers claw at the phone, but it crashes to the floor, skittering just out of reach. The pain is different this time, deeper, like someone's twisting a serrated blade between my ribs. I've been hiding these attacks from everyone, my executive team, my clients, even Lucia, especially Lucia. My teenage daughter needs her strong papa, not some broken man clutching his side in an empty office at 9 p.m. My mind flashes to last week, standing confidently before a room of Fortune 500 executives, laser pointer dancing across projected revenue forecasts, their faces rapt with attention. Gentlemen, the Martinez method guarantees a 12% reduction in operational costs while maintaining quality metrics. That commanding voice seems to belong to someone else now. Sweat soaks through my $3,000 suit as another wave hits. The metallic taste of fear floods my mouth. The digital dashboard on my office wall flickers with real-time updates of client portfolio values, numbers that once filled me with pride, now pulsing like a taunting countdown. Luis, the Singapore team needs your decision on the restructuring proposal by morning, plays my assistant's voice message, echoing from the fallen phone speaker, impossibly distant. Dios mío. Ayúdame, I whisper, but the words feel hollow. When was the last time I actually prayed? Really prayed? The gilded cross my abuela gave me sits in my desk drawer, buried under contracts and quarterly projections, a relic from a life I abandoned in pursuit of success. The Simon merger analysis mocks me from the wall, a $30 million deal I might not live to see through. The thought sends me lunging for the trash can, as bile burns my throat. I've built everything from nothing, climbed from office clerk to CEO, only to have my own body betray me. The room spins as I drag myself toward my fallen phone. Family photos on my desk watch accusingly. Lucia's quinceañera, where I was too busy taking calls to dance with her. Christmas morning, when I cut the gift opening short for a client meeting. All those moments sacrificed on the altar of success. My gaze catches on the framed Minority Business Leader of the Year award beside my Harvard MBA diploma. Next to them, a faded photograph, teenage Luis in an ill-fitting suit, carrying mail through an office lobby, eyes already burning with ambition. First Latino-owned consulting firm to break the top 10 in the country. What does any of it matter now? My fingers finally close around the phone. The screen swims in and out of focus as I try to dial. Another knife twist in my back drops me to the carpet. The carefully maintained facade of Luis Martinez, self-made consulting magnate, crumbles with each labored breath. 911. What's your emergency? I need. The words catch in my throat. Need what? Help? A miracle? Forgiveness? An ambulance? Financial district. Martinez Consulting, 42nd floor. As sirens wail in the distance, I stare at the ceiling and make desperate deals with a god I've ignored for decades. Not for me, for Lucia. She can't lose her father. Not like this. Not yet. But even as the paramedics burst through my office door, I know the real emergency isn't the pain in my back. It's the emptiness in my soul, a void I've tried to fill with achievements, awards, and applause for 20 years. The sterile smell of antiseptic burns my nostrils, a harsh contrast to the rich scent of leather that used to fill my corner office. A machine beeps a steady, mocking rhythm beside me, each pulse echoing in the quiet of this hospital room. 6 months ago, my only soundtrack was the tap of fingers dancing on a keyboard, drafting strategies that reshaped industries. I stare at the acoustic tile ceiling, counting the dots until my vision blurs. An IV tube is taped to my hand, a tether to this new, powerless reality. I close my eyes and see him, the man I was, standing in that sleek boardroom, delivering the market entry strategy that saved Simon Industries millions. The room had buzzed with excitement, my thoughts flowing like a well-rehearsed symphony. Luis, my friend. Tom Simon, the CEO, had clapped me on the back. Your market analysis changed their entire strategy. We'd be lost without you. I can almost feel the weight of the printed charts and figures in my hands, showcasing what they called my genius. From this hospital bed, I gaze longingly through the window at the city's skyline, where digital billboards still display my firm's name proudly in the heart of the financial district. But the pride feels hollow now, like applause echoing in an empty theater. A soft chime pulls me back to reality. My phone lies on the bedside table. A text from Lucia. Poppy, please let me come see you. I know you're scared. The words hit like a physical blow. My 16-year-old daughter, the one person I've tried to protect from my weakness, sees right through me. I can't let her see me like this, reduced to a hospital gown and a plastic bracelet with my name on it. I remember another text. That snowy afternoon 6 months ago. Dad, don't forget my winter recital tonight. I had smiled then, proud of my daughter, first chair violinist, a shining achievement in our perfect life. But I'd missed that recital for an emergency client call, just like I'd missed her school play, just like I'd missed her track meet. The beeping of the monitor quickens as I remember feeling twinges in my back during a video conference with my international team. We need to pivot, I'd urged, switching effortlessly between languages, trying to conceal my growing weakness. The voices of my colleagues had buzzed in my ears, their trust in my vision bolstering my confidence. But there's something else eating at me, something I haven't told Lucia, haven't told anyone. The real reason I can't face her isn't just my illness. 3 weeks ago, I discovered Elena's betrayal. Elena Rodriguez, my VP of Strategic Development, the brilliant analyst I'd mentored from junior associate to executive level, the woman I'd trusted with my most sensitive client files, the woman who'd been selling our proprietary strategies to our biggest competitor. I'd found the evidence by accident, encrypted files on a shared server, payment records hidden in expense reports, $20 million in stolen contracts, client lists sold to the highest bidder, my life's work being systematically dismantled by someone I'd considered family. The worst part, Elena isn't just any employee, she's my goddaughter, the daughter of my best friend Carlos, who died in a car accident 5 years ago. I'd promised Carlos on his deathbed that I'd take care of Elena, help her succeed in a business world that didn't always welcome young Latinas. I'd given her everything, opportunities, mentorship, access to my personal network, and she'd responded by destroying me. The knowledge sits in my chest like a tumor. My business is bleeding money. 3 major clients have already jumped ship to our competitors, armed with strategies Elena provided. My own strategic methods are being used against me, and I'm too proud to admit to my team that I've been betrayed by family. My phone buzzes again. Another message from Lucia. Dad, Elena came by the house asking about you. She seemed really worried. Worried. Right. Probably worried I'll discover the rest of her treachery before she can finish destroying my company. The irony is suffocating. Luis Martinez, the strategic genius who helps Fortune 500 companies navigate their darkest crises, can't figure out how to save his own firm from the person he trusted most. Dr. Patel's words echo in the sterile room as he delivers the verdict I've been dreading. Mr. Martinez, your kidneys are failing. The damage is extensive, likely years of stress, poor diet, overwork. We're looking at chronic kidney disease, stage 4. The medical terminology washes over me like a foreign language, despite my Harvard MBA and fluency in corporate speak. Stage 4. I've managed enough healthcare companies to know what that means. How long? I ask, my voice barely a whisper. With dialysis, dietary changes, and if we can find a donor, he pauses, the way I pause before delivering bad news to clients. 5 to 10 years. Maybe more if you're lucky. Lucia will be 26 when I'm gone. Old enough to have her own family, young enough to need her father, old enough to understand why I spent her childhood building an empire instead of memories. There's something else, Dr. Patel continues. The stress factors that contributed to this condition, they need to stop immediately. No more 18-hour days, no more crisis management. Your body can't handle the cortisol levels anymore. I want to laugh. Stop working? Stop managing crises? That's like asking me to stop breathing. Martinez Consulting Group is more than my company. It's my identity, my legacy, my proof that a kid from East LA could make it in the boardrooms of America. But now it's also the thing that's killing me. After Dr. Patel leaves, I stare at my phone, Elena's name in my contacts list. I could call her, confront her about the betrayal. I could threaten legal action, public humiliation, professional destruction. The old Luis would have had a strategy mapped out within hours. Instead, I feel tired, bone-deep, soul-crushing exhaustion that no amount of coffee or determination can overcome. My tablet lights up with an urgent email from my CFO. Luis, we need to talk. The Peterson account just canceled. They're citing concerns about our strategic security. Someone leaked their entire restructuring plan to their biggest competitor. Elena, my goddaughter, Carlos's little girl, who used to call me Tio Luis and bring me drawings of our future company logo. I close my eyes and remember Carlos's funeral, standing at his graveside, while Elena sobbed into my shoulder. I'll take care of her, I'd promised the gravestone. She'll be like my own daughter. Now both daughters are slipping away, one to my neglect, one to my naive trust. The machine beside my bed beeps faster as my heart rate spikes. I reach for the call button, then stop. What's the point? The doctors can treat my kidneys, but they can't heal what's really broken. The IV drips a steady rhythm into my arm, while my other hand grips my laptop. From this vinyl chair, I try to manage a consulting empire that is slipping through my fingers like sand. Each email notification makes my stomach clench. The quarterly projections glow on the screen like a damning verdict. 4 major clients threatening to walk, revenue down 40%, and my top team burning out. My hands shake as I reach for my blood pressure pills, another daily reminder of my body's betrayal. The doctor's words echo in the quiet room. Senor Martinez, your kidneys are failing. This is chronic. You need to slow down. You need to stop. But how? My firm, my name, my entire identity is built on solving impossible problems, on having all the answers. My phone buzzes with notifications that feel like accusations. The bank, my executive assistant with urgent messages. Then Lucia again. You missed my recital again. My thumb hovers over the screen, but I have no words. The man who could restructure Fortune 500 companies can't figure out what to say to his own daughter. But there's a new message that stops my breath. Elena, Uncle Luis, I heard you're in the hospital. I'm so sorry. I need to talk to you about something important. Something important. Probably another lie, another manipulation. I delete the message without responding. I glance at the hospital notepad where I've been trying to diagram a solution to my health crisis, SWOT analysis, decision trees, risk matrices, methodologies that have made me millions, now reduced to useless scribbles. On the wall-mounted TV, CNBC silently displays the stock ticker. I watch as Martinez Global drops another 2 points. But the business problems feel secondary now to the deeper crisis eating at my soul. How did I become the kind of man who could be so thoroughly deceived? How did I build my entire emotional foundation on the shifting sand of human loyalty? Days blur into a haze of lab results, worried calls, and the bone-deep exhaustion that no strategy session can solve. One night, unable to bear the beeping monitor any longer, I unhook myself and walk the silent, fluorescent-lit corridors. I find myself standing before the hospital chapel. The electric candles cast shadows that dance across the stained glass like projections of my fading client logos. Through the windows, I can see a simple wooden cross, unadorned but somehow more commanding than any corporate logo I've ever designed. I sink onto a wooden pew, the rosary beads from my pocket clicking against the wood, beads my abuela pressed into my palm the day I left for Harvard, beads I haven't touched in 20 years. Jesus, I whisper into the darkness, the word catching in my throat like a failed pitch. I've advised CEOs and restructured corporations. I've helped companies pivot when everything was falling apart. I've been the man with all the answers. My fist strikes the pew, the pain barely registering. And now, I can't even strategize my way out of this. The silence presses in. Outside, Chicago's winter wind howls through the steel and glass towers where I've spent countless hours in boardrooms. Inside, my carefully constructed persona is crumbling. A memory surfaces, telling a junior consultant just last month. In this business, vulnerability is weakness. Never let them see you sweat. Then my abuela's voice, cutting through 2 decades of corporate conditioning. Mijo, all your fancy business degrees won't matter if you forget who you are and whose you are. Tears I haven't shed in 20 years carve hot trails down my cheeks. Heal me or take me, I breathe, the words raw. I'm tired. Tired of being used. Tired of being the expert. Tired of building strategies for success that don't last. My voice breaks into a sob. Dios mío, por favor. I slip into the Spanish prayers of my childhood, the formal English of boardrooms abandoned. Jesus, if you're real, I've advised everyone else, but I need more than a business partner. I need a savior. The chapel's silence isn't empty. It's pregnant with possibility, with the weight of words unspoken but deeply felt. For the first time in decades, I'm not trying to control the outcome. I'm not developing contingency plans or backup strategies. I don't know how to not be in control, I whisper to the cross. I don't know how to trust when everyone I've trusted has let me down. But even as I say it, I know it's not entirely true. Elena betrayed me, yes. But Lucia is still texting, still trying to reach her broken father. My team is still fighting to save the company. Dr. Patel is still working to save my life. Maybe trust isn't about guarantees. Maybe it's about hope, despite uncertainty. I don't know how long I kneel in the chapel's darkness, but when I finally stand, my legs are numb and my heart feels different. Not healed, but somehow lighter. As if I've set down a weight I didn't realize I was carrying. My hands tremble as I hold the flimsy paper cup of coffee. The platinum Rolex on my wrist, a gift to myself after closing the Peterson merger last year, catches the fluorescent light as I fumble. The watch that had once symbolized my ascent in the consulting world now seems to mock me with each passing second. The cup feels impossibly heavy. Just as I lift it to my lips, a tremor runs through me, and the cup slips from my grasp. Coffee splashes across my pajamas and pools on the polished floor. The shattered remains of the cup lie at my feet. A perfect metaphor for my life. No, 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 I mutter, bending down, trying uselessly to clean up the mess with shaking hands. My mind races through potential solutions, action items, contingency plans, the same methodical approach I've used to solve my clients' crises for 15 years. But here, on my knees in a hospital hallway, my analytical framework fails me completely. Siéntate, hermano. A quiet voice cuts through my shame. Sometimes we need to let things fall apart before they can be put back together. I look up to see a janitor leaning on his mop handle. His face is weathered, kind, and he looks at me without an ounce of judgment, a look I haven't received in the cutthroat world of consulting for longer than I can remember. I've cleaned these halls for 20 years, he says, setting his mop aside. Seen many important people come and go, all equal in God's eyes. He gestures to the coffee spill. Let me take care of this. I'm sorry for the mess, I say, straightening my pajamas instinctively. The consultant in me desperate to maintain some semblance of professionalism. A spill is nothing, he says, beginning to mop up the coffee with practiced efficiency. The messes inside us, those are harder to clean. His words hit me like a physical blow. In my mind's eye, I see the elaborate decision trees and risk matrices I create for clients dissolving, melting away like watercolors in the rain. The problem-solution paradigm that had defined my career suddenly seems inadequate for the crisis of the soul. When was the last time you talked to the big man upstairs? He asks gently, his name tag reading Miguel. Not the polite prayers at client dinners or the desperate bargaining I'd just attempted in the chapel. He means really prayed. My throat tightens as I come face to face with my truth. I don't remember. Miguel pulls a small worn Bible from his back pocket and opens it to a bookmarked page. He was wounded for our transgressions. He was bruised for our iniquities. The chastisement of our peace was upon him, and with his stripes we are healed, he reads, his voice carrying the weight of someone who had lived those words through his own valleys. Not just our bodies are healed, hermano, every part of us. I solve complex problems for a living, I say, the words sounding empty even to my own ears. Strategic planning, operational efficiency, market penetration, that's what I know. But this, my voice breaks. Being here, it doesn't fit into any framework I've ever used. Miguel nods slowly, continuing to mop with unhurried precision. Some problems aren't meant to be solved, hermano. They're meant to be surrendered. Something cracks open inside me. All the pressure of maintaining appearances, of being the successful Latino businessman with a corner office overlooking downtown, of hiding my fear from Lucia, of pretending Elena's betrayal doesn't feel like a knife in my back. It all bursts like a dam. I cover my face with my hands and weep, ugly, body-shaking sobs that echo through the empty hallway. Miguel's hand rests warm and steady on my shoulder as I pour out everything. The terror of failing my daughter, the shame of losing control, the utter exhaustion of pretending I had all the answers, the devastating betrayal by someone I considered family. Elena was like my own daughter, I choke out. Her father was my best friend. I promised him I'd take care of her, and she destroyed everything I built. Ah, Miguel says softly, the deepest wounds come from those closest to our hearts. I noticed your nameplate when I was cleaning the executive floor downtown. He continues, Martinez Consulting Group. I pray for all the important people in those offices, extra for the Latino ones. We carry more weight, no? The familiar expression catches me off guard. It's something my abuela would say, that we carried the expectations of generations on our shoulders, that our success or failure reflected on our entire community. El hombre propone, y Dios dispone, Miguel adds softly. My grandmother's favorite proverb, man proposes, but God disposes. The words transport me instantly to her small kitchen, where she would remind me that for all my planning, God held the final say. I've been so angry at God, I admit, for letting Elena betray me, for letting my body fail, for letting me waste so many years chasing the wrong things. Miguel chuckles, a sound like autumn leaves rustling. God can handle your anger, hermano. He's handled mine plenty of times. He closes his Bible and looks directly into my eyes. Jesus doesn't want your success, Luis. He doesn't need your strategic plans or your quarterly projections. He wants you, just as you are, broken, angry, afraid, especially broken. The words pierce deeper than any medical diagnosis. In that fluorescent-lit hallway, with coffee soaking into my hospital slippers, I understand something that 20 years of business school couldn't teach me. I've been trying to earn acceptance from clients, from employees, from Lucia, even from God, through performance. But acceptance or love that must be earned isn't real. How do I forgive her? I whisper. Elena destroyed everything I worked for. You start by remembering that you've been forgiven for more, Miguel says simply. And forgiveness isn't about excusing what she did. It's about freeing yourself from carrying the poison of bitterness. For the first time since discovering Elena's betrayal, I feel something other than rage and disappointment. Not resolution, not yet, but a tiny seed of possibility. Miguel finishes mopping and straightens, studying my face. Talk to him. Let Jesus handle all of it. I nodded, feeling lighter. Not because the circumstances have changed, but because something inside me has shifted. The crushing need to control everything, to have all the answers, to be the smartest person in the room, it's still there, but it no longer feels like a matter of life and death. The next morning, Lucia finds me by the window of my hospital room, a small Bible open in my lap instead of the quarterly projections I usually review. Miguel had given it to me before his shift ended, along with a simple piece of advice. Read the parts Jesus says. Start there. I glance up from the scripture to the makeshift desk the nurses had arranged. My tablet propped against stacks of business reports, now sharing space with family photos I'd asked Lucia to bring from home. My daughter's quinceañera portrait sits front and center where my company logo paperweight used to dominate. Dad? Lucia asks, her voice laced with concern and curiosity. Are you okay? You look different. Before I can answer, my tablet lights up with an incoming video call. The old Luis would have answered immediately, apologizing for the delay and promising immediate action. Instead, I pause, looking at my daughter's face, really looking at her for what feels like the first time in years. 1 second, Mija, I say, accepting the call with a calmness that surprises me. 3 anxious faces appear on screen. Marcos, Elena, and David from my senior leadership team. Elena's presence still stings, but I notice the pain has dulled from a sharp knife to a persistent ache. Luis, thank God you're okay, Elena says, and I can see genuine worry in her eyes. For a moment, my resolve wavers. This is the Elena who cried at her father's funeral, who worked 16-hour days to prove herself worthy of the opportunities I'd given her. The Westbrook account is demanding the strategy deck by tomorrow, says Marcos, my VP of operations, clearly uncomfortable with Elena's presence, but maintaining professionalism. They're threatening to walk if we don't deliver. I take a deep breath, Miguel's words echoing in my mind. Some problems aren't meant to be solved. They're meant to be surrendered. Our client needs another month, I say calmly. Their people matter more than our deadline, and so do you. Their stunned silence speaks volumes. In the background, I can see Elena's face change, confusion, then something that might be respect. But we always meet deadlines, no matter what, protests David, our newest senior analyst. It's the Martinez way. And we've burned out good people doing it. I reply, my voice steady. Call Westbrook. Explain that I'm recovering, but that we're recommending an extension to do proper stakeholder interviews. Their employees deserve to be heard, not just managed. After ending the call, I turned back to Lucia. She's staring at me with wide eyes, as if seeing a stranger wearing her father's face. No, Miga, I'm not okay, I say honestly, my voice clear and vulnerable in a way it hasn't been since she was small. But Jesus is with me, and for the first time in a very long time, that feels like enough. Lucia sits on the edge of my bed, careful not to disturb the medical equipment. You said Jesus, Dad? You haven't said that word in I can't remember how long. The observation hits me like a gentle rebuke. When had I stopped mentioning faith around my daughter? When had I decided that success required abandoning the beliefs that raised me? I lost my way, sweetheart, I admit. I thought being strong meant doing everything myself. I thought providing for you meant working constantly. I thought, my voice catches. I thought I was building you a legacy, but I was just building walls between us. Lucia reaches for my hand. When did her hands become so graceful, so adult?
Dad, I never needed the legacy. I just needed you.
Her words break something open in my chest. Not painful this time, but liberating. All those missed recitals, all those cut short Christmases, all those phone calls that took precedence over bedtime stories, none of it had been necessary. I'd been solving the wrong problem all along. Later that afternoon, Roberto, a junior consultant I've been mentoring, visits with some paperwork requiring my signature. He looks exhausted, reminding me of myself 20 years ago, ambitious, brilliant, and sacrificing everything for success. You don't need to work yourself to death to prove your worth, I tell him, setting aside the documents without immediately signing them. I spent decades believing that was the only path for people like us. Like us? He questions. Latino consultants in a world that doesn't always make space for our voices. I gesture toward a draft proposal on my tablet. I'm starting pro bono consulting services for the Hispanic Business Association. Real strategy work, not charity. Would you like to lead it? His eyes widen, but that's not billable hours. That won't help my bonus or my promotion track. Success isn't just what you achieve, Roberto. It's who you become. The words feel foreign in my mouth, so different from the ruthless ambition I've preached for years, and who we help along the way. My phone buzzes a text from Tom Simon, CEO of one of our biggest remaining clients. Luis, we need your strategy for the board meeting tomorrow. The Peterson leak has everyone spooked. The Peterson leak. Elena's handiwork. The old Luis would have panicked, would have worked through the night to craft a response that deflected blame and projected strength. Without hesitation, I respond. Tom, you need to hear your daughter's recital tonight. The board can wait until morning. Trust your instincts. They're better than any strategy I could give you. I set the phone down, feeling a strange peace wash over me. Roberto stares at me as if I've lost my mind. Sir, that's a $50 million client, he says carefully. And he's a father first, I reply, something I forgot for too long. Lucia, who has been quietly observing from the corner chair, picks up a worn photo of my parents I'd recently added to my bedside table. Dad, you never talk about Abuelo's journey from Mexico. What was it like? The old Luis would have dismissed this as sentimental distraction from more important matters. Stories don't generate revenue. Family history doesn't close deals. But looking at my daughter's face, really looking, I see genuine curiosity, a hunger to understand where she comes from. I pat the edge of the bed, inviting her to sit beside me. It's time you knew those stories, I say, memories flooding back of my father's hands, calloused from building other people's dreams while deferring his own. I've spent too long thinking success meant leaving those stories behind. 3 days later, Alana appears in my doorway. She looks smaller somehow, her usual commanding presence replaced by something more vulnerable. She's holding a thick folder and what appears to be a resignation letter. Uncle Luis, she says, her voice barely above a whisper. I need to tell you something, about the contracts, about everything. My heart rate monitor beeps faster. I'd been dreading this confrontation, preparing for it with the same strategic mindset I'd use for any hostile negotiation. But now, seeing her face, seeing Carlos's eyes looking at me with such pain, I feel something unexpected, compassion mixed with steely resolve. Sit down, Elena, I say quietly. She perches on the edge of the visitor's chair, clutching the folder like a shield. I know you know, she begins, about the Peterson account, about the leaked strategies, about all of it. I nod. saying nothing. Strategic silence. Let her reveal her position before showing your hand. You want to know why? It's not a question. She opens the folder, revealing not what I expected, evidence of further betrayal, but hospital bills, stacks of them. My mother, she says, her voice breaking. She was diagnosed with stage 4 ovarian cancer 6 months ago. The treatments, they're experimental, not covered by insurance. We've been paying out of pocket. The revelation hits me like cold water. Carmen, Carlos's widow. The woman who raised Elena alone after Carlos died. The woman who cleaned offices at night to pay for Elena's education while refusing any help from me. The competitor who bought our strategies. They didn't just pay for information, Elena continues, tears now flowing freely. They paid enough to cover all of Mom's treatment, enough to save her life. I stare at the medical bills, the treatment schedules, the desperate calculations of a daughter trying to save her mother, the same calculations I might make if Lucia were dying. Why didn't you come to me? I ask, my voice softer than I intended. Elena looks up, her eyes red with exhaustion and shame. Uncle Luis, you've already done so much for our family. You helped pay for my education, gave me opportunities no one else would. How could I ask you to pay for Mom's cancer too? And the amounts, we're talking hundreds of thousands of dollars. So you sold my company's secrets instead, I snapped. She flinches as if I'd struck her. I told myself it was just information, just numbers and strategies that you could easily replace. I didn't realize how much damage it would do until the clients started leaving. Part of me is furious. She destroyed relationships I'd spent years building, undermined strategies that represented the best of my professional legacy. But looking at her face, seeing the same desperate love I feel for Lucia, the anger transforms into something more complex. How is she? I ask. Carmen? The treatments are working, Elena says, hope and guilt warring in her voice. The doctors think she might go into remission. We sit in silence for several moments. The old Luis would have had a response ready. Legal action, professional consequences, a strategic plan for damage control. The new Luis finds himself thinking of Miguel's words about forgiveness, but also remembering another piece of wisdom. Love sometimes requires difficult choices. Elena, I say finally, you made a terrible choice. You betrayed my trust and damaged our company in ways that might be irreparable. She nods, tears streaming down her face. You also put every other employee's job at risk, I continue, my voice gentle but firm. Marcos, David, Roberto, all the people who trusted you, who counted on this company for their livelihoods. Your choice to save your mother came at the cost of potentially destroying theirs. The weight of this reality settles on her face like a physical blow. I understand why you did it, I say, reaching across to touch her hand briefly. Love makes us desperate. I would have done anything to save Lucia if she were dying, but Elena, understanding doesn't erase consequences. She looks up, fear replacing the hope in her eyes. I have to let you go, I say quietly. Not because I don't love you like family, but because I do. Real love sometimes means allowing people to face the results of their choices. Uncle Luis, please. And I have to report this to the authorities, I continue. Each word painful but necessary. What you did was corporate espionage. If I don't report it, I become complicit in destroying the trust our remaining clients have in us. Elena's resignation letter falls from her trembling hands. You're going to have me arrested? I'm going to let the legal system determine appropriate consequences, I correct. Just like I had to let the medical system determine how to treat my kidneys. Some things are beyond my control, and trying to control them only makes things worse. She breaks down completely then, sobbing with the weight of understanding what her choices will cost. Not just her career, but potentially her freedom. But Elena, I say, waiting until she meets my eyes, I want you to know something important. I forgive you. Not because what you did was acceptable, but because forgiveness is a gift I give to free my own heart from bitterness. Her sobs intensify. And when you've faced the consequences, whatever they are, I'll still be here. Not as your employer, but as your godfather, as someone who loved your father like a brother, and who loves you like a daughter, even when your choices break my heart. She looks up, confusion and hope warring in her expression. Forgiveness doesn't mean avoiding consequences, I explain, thinking of conversations with Miguel about grace and accountability. It means facing them with love and support. When this is over, When you've paid whatever price the law requires, we'll figure out how to rebuild. Not the business relationship, but the family one. Elena leaves my room carrying her mother's medical bills and the weight of understanding that love sometimes says no, that grace includes accountability, that the people who care about us most are the ones who won't enable our destructive choices. The legal proceedings take 6 months. Elena pleads guilty to corporate espionage and receives 2 years probation, community service, and substantial fines. The competitor who bought our stolen strategies faces their own legal challenges. Our insurance covers some of the damages, but Martinez Consulting Group loses 3 more major clients and has to downsize significantly. During this time, I implement what I call the restoration protocol. Not for Elena, but for the employees whose jobs her choices endangered. We establish an emergency fund for anyone facing medical crises, funded by restructuring my compensation and selling personal assets. We create whistleblower protections for employees who discover unethical behavior. We institute mandatory ethics training and regular financial audits. The medical battles aren't over. The business challenges remain, but something fundamental has shifted in the architecture of my soul. Where I once saw problems to solve, I now see opportunities to trust. When fear grips me during dialysis treatments, scripture fills my mind instead of market projections. My employees notice the change immediately. "You seem different, Luis," my chief of staff Maria says during her next visit. Lighter somehow, even with everything going on. I smile, remembering Miguel's words about surrender. "I finally stopped trying to be God," I tell her, and started letting him be God. The transformation isn't magic. Some days, the old Luis Martinez screams to take back control. The consultant in me wants guarantees, wants to fix everything right now, wants to strategic plan my way back to health and success. But then I remember that hospital hallway, that moment of surrender with Miguel mopping up my spilled coffee, and I feel that same warmth spread through my chest, the warmth of grace unearned but freely given.